welcome to my channel Trim It Color. This week we are going to create a lemon. In this video we will be doing the modeling and texturing of it. This is very important to start a model from a basic primitive. In this case I am going to use a cylinder as my primitive. So here I am creating a polygonal cylinder, rotating it 90 degrees in the z-axis and scaling it up a little bit, and then going to its input. Lemon is an organic model, so I have decided an odd number in the subdivision axis, so I am using 5 in this case. Then I am going to the mesh and smoothing the model with 1 subdivision level. Here I am modifying the geometry to get a correct proportion. Now select all the faces of the caps, both the sides, and going to edit mesh and extrude it, scaling it down a little bit, going to the global axis and scaling it up in the x-axis, again selecting the faces of the cap and extruding it, pulling it out from the main surface. Again I am going to extrude it and keep faces together off and scale it down a little bit so that all the faces will be scaling individually, and that's looking fine. Here the alternate divisions are looking very linear, so I'm going to select the vertices of the alternate subdivision and going to scale it, and will try to modify it to make it a little bit circular. I'm going to the other side and doing the same to make the subdivisions circular. Now I am selecting the faces of the cap and extruding it, scaling it down a little bit and pulling it outside. I am extruding the faces once again, going to the global axis and pulling it to the x-axis and scaling it down. I am extruding it once again, scaling it down in the local axis and pushing it in, and again extruding and pulling it out. So here I am getting the shape. I am inserting an edge loop in this area and trying to modify the shape and the proportion of the lemon, and here I am getting the shape. Let's do a couple of modifications to make the surface look a little bit organic. Here in this area I am using multi-cut tool and trying to create a circular loop in this area, and selecting all the alternate edges and deleting it. Now select all the faces in this area, going to edit mesh and extrude it, scaling it down a little bit in the local axis and again extrude it and pull it out to get the shape. Here again I am modifying the surface to get the organic shape. Okay, so here is my model. Now I am selecting all these 5 faces and pulling it up a little bit. Here I am trying to increase the length and making room for the leaves. So I am giving a couple of loops and modifying it so that it will look a little bit organic. A few more modifications and here it is ready. Now I am going to create the leaves. Now come to the front view and go to the mesh tool, and I am selecting create polygon tool. Here I am creating the shape of the leaves and going to the vertex mode and modifying it to give a shape of a leaf. Again going to the mesh tool and selecting multicut tool, and now I can split a couple of edges and can convert everything into quads. So here is my leaf, and now I am selecting the middle edge lobe and pushing it in a little bit so that two planes will be distinguished. Here giving an edge lobe to exaggerate the vein. Now let's go to the mesh and hit the smooth command. So here is the leaf. Now I'm going to the vertex mode of it and modifying the edges to make it organic. Here I am going to unwrap this leaf, and later on I am going to create another leaf out of this leaf itself. So select the object, go to planar mapping and make sure your camera projection is on and apply. So going to the UV texture editor, and here we can see the UV shell of this leaf, and we can easily understand the scaling is not correct. So I'm just scaling it down in the x-axis to make the scaling identical with my model. So here it is. Now I can create another leaf. So select the leaf and Ctrl D to duplicate it and keep it aside. Now selecting my first leaf, going to the animation module and going to the create deformers, inside that non-linear deformers, and I am assigning bend to it. Going to the inputs of the bend and increasing the curvature a little bit and changing the orientation of it towards the front, and here I am changing the shape of the leaf how exactly I need. Now again select the leaf and apply twist to it. I am going to the start angle and give a value how much you need, and this is fine. Here is my first leaf. Now I am going to the second leaf and I am going to do the same what I have done with my first leaf. Here I am trying to make the shape a bit different than the first one, and here in this case I am using two bends, and now I am applying twist to it, modifying the end angle so that two leaves will look different. So here is my second leaf. Now I am changing the pivot point of each leaf towards its source point. So select the leaf and snap it to the lemon. Here I am doing some modification in the translation and orientation to position both the leaves correctly. So here is my model, and now I can prepare the lemon for the texturing. Hiding the leaves, going to the hyper shade and creating a Lambert. Now I am taking a checker texture and connecting to the color attribute of the Lambert. Select the object and assign material to the selection. To unwrap anything, applying checker texture is very important to check the correct scaling of it. Going to the front view, select the model, and before doing anything, I'm going to the create UVs and applying planar mapping. Now at least we can see the checker texture on this model. Selecting this loop and one loop at the bottom, and going to the UV texture editor and going to polygons and cut UV edges. So I can detach the UV shell. I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom area also. So here inside the UV texture editor, I'm getting 3 UV shells. Selecting the faces of the middle region and going to create UVs and assigning cylindrical mapping. So here we can see the projection is half, so I'm making it 360-degree projection, and we can get the UV shell which is not overlapped. I just need to scale it up in the x-axis to get the correct scaling. So here it is. Now selecting both the UV shells of top part and the bottom part, going to the top view and assigning planar mapping to it, and here we can get the UV shells, and the scaling of the checker boxes are looking very correct. This UV shell is looking red, that means it is inverted, so I'm just flipping it, and now everything is fine. The scaling can be a little bit better, and here it is. I'm happy with the scaling. And now I'm going to keep all my UV shells inside the positive area. Now select all the UV shells and move it to the positive area by hitting this shortcut. Here I am getting the alignment of the UV shells, which is looking fine. I'll rotate it a little bit to get my UV shells horizontal, and that is looking fine. Now select the object, go to polygon and hit UV snapshot, and here give it a name, give it a size, the file format. You can use Targa or JPEG. Here I am using Targa, and apply. Now let's go to Photoshop. So here is the texture I'm going to use for the lemon. So I'm just opening my UV layout, what I just saved, and you can get it inside the images folder of the project. So let's take this image over the UV layout. That's fine, and here I will duplicate it a couple of times and will try to create a seamless texture. So I'll do it very quickly and I'll come back. So this is what I got, and I'm saving this inside the source images of my project. And let's go to Maya and assign it to my model, and let's check what's happening over there. Going to the hypershade and deleting the checkerbox texture and taking a new file texture and browse the lemon color from the source images and connecting the color property. So here is my lemon and it's looking fine, and I'm going to create the top and bottom part now. So let's go to Photoshop once again. Here once again I'm duplicating the original layer, and now I'm trying to create the top and bottom part, and let's check what can be done. So here is my texture, I'm saving it, and let's go to Maya and go to hypershade and reload the texture, and here it is. So it's looking fine, only I can see two seams at the top and at the bottom, so I have to do some adjustments for those seams. Select the model, going to the rendering module, and inside texturing going to the 3D pen tool. Go to the paint operations and select clone, hit the set clone source button, and here I am selecting the source and painting over the seam, and as we can see it's cloning. We are getting result in this area, and the same process I'm going to do all over the scene, and very quickly I'll do it and I'll come back. Here I have removed the seam, and the new modified texture you can get inside the 3D Paint texture. The folder you can get either inside the source images or directly inside the project you are using. So this is the modified texture we just have created. Now let's open this texture in Photoshop and do some adjustments. So I'm duplicating the layer, going to Image Adjustment and Desaturate. I'm going to use this texture as a bump map. So let's come to Maya once again, going to the Hyper Shade and taking a file texture, new file texture, and browsing the bump map and connecting this file texture with the bump attribute. This is the bump 2D node. Select it and reduce the strength of it. So here it is. Now same thing I'm going to do for the leaves. I'm selecting the leaf and going to polygons and taking a UV snapshot. Again coming to Photoshop and opening the UVs of the leaf, and I'm duplicating it. This is the texture I am going to use for the color of this leaf, and doing exactly the same what I have done for the lemon. So I'll scale it up, the texture, and we'll try to place it at its correct position. Taking another layer and picking some color from this texture itself and creating the background. Here is my leaf texture. I can save this file as leaf color, and let's go to Maya and let's check what's happening over there. Going to the Hyper Shade, and this time I'm taking blend material for the leaf, assigning blend to the leaves. Now taking a file texture, select the file texture and browse the leaf color I just have created and connect it to the color property of blend. So here it is, and it's looking quite realistic. And now I am going to create the bump for the leaf also, how I have created for the lemon. Coming back to Photoshop, duplicating the leaf layer and going to the image adjustments and desaturate. I'm using level to increase the contrast and to exaggerate the veins. Here I'll paint some of the areas and will reduce the specularity we can see in this image, and quickly I'll finish it and we'll go back to Maya. I'm saving this file as leaf bump and coming back to Maya, taking another file texture and browsing leaf bump and connecting this with the blend to the bump property. So here I can see I got a bump node. So let's check how it is looking. I feel the bump is looking too much, so reduce the bump depth up to 0.1, and this is it. So here I am taking another Lambert and giving a color from that leaf texture and selecting this mesh and assign material to the selection, and this is my output. So you can see the final rendering of this scene. Later on I have worked with the lighting and look development, the shaders of the lemon and leaves, and here it is. For the final look development, please stay tuned with me. I am coming up with a new video for the look development of this scene, and hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe the channel. Thank you so much for watching.